that we were given. Yeah, we'd push those forth to the people that are interested in helping us and just say, like, this is when they want to complete it.
And I think I'm more thinking the other way, because you gentlemen, you may not be aware, this is something that comes for our committee and for Joe. It's kind of a bigger picture for us. And it's just thinking, I don't want to put a cart before a horse. I think it's a great project, but I also want to make sure that as a city, we're not just looking at one project. This is something we talked about a couple meetings ago, that we want to get a parks plan in place. And so that's why I'm okay, you guys want this done by the end of the year. That might put some pressure on us and some grant funding we're looking at so that we can do something more comprehensive. And so that's why I was asking, because I want to be able to be informed as I'm going to be asked to make decisions, and I gotta be able to balance all that out. What you're doing, I think, is great, and it's great that you have the funding available. And you're one organization, and we have several parks.
Sure.
And so that's all. I'm just trying to get it in my head.
Yeah, I mean, we have the field there. You're going to need a dugout eventually. And because it's T-ball and buddy ball, they can share a dugout. You wouldn't have to worry about a dugout on the other side. T-ball kids go out to the field, batters come in. It wouldn't be like a home and away situation. So you'd never be looking at a second one.
Okay.
As far as the platform of color or finish goes, that material can be painted at any time. You want us to paint it a different color? Paul.
Yeah, not a problem.
So, I mean, would this be pretty much our standard if we were to accept this kind of thing or talk about it more? Would this become our standard for all the other kind of dugouts or baseball fields that we have left in Harvard? I honestly do not know how many there are in Harvard, baseball fields, that would need to have this kind of.
Well, so at Moose Field, there's 3 fields.
And there's one existing at, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
One
so
existing at Milky Way Park.
Yeah, Milky Way Park has 1 and 3 baseball fields, or softball. And then the HERS have 3 fields at Lions Park. Or actually, it's JC's Park, I guess, right there.
So your ADA compliant dugout would only be on this field though, because this is where you play the ADA?
Correct. The other dugouts are already completed and they're established and they're in great condition. We take care of them. I've actually got some tuck pointing that I want to do on the back of one of them, but we're all handy guys. We're all contractors. Somebody's an electrician, somebody's a flooring guy, somebody's a painter. We handle a lot of that stuff.
Another question.
Keeps our costs down.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Another question I had was, would they be able to work in concert with some of the other programs? I can't remember the acronym right now, but they deal with a lot
NISRA?
of. Yes, they deal with a lot of ADA
So
stuff.
it's possible that we, through the city and through this committee, that you could make some NISRA funding available for this project. That would be up to this committee and ultimately city council to allocate some of that. But that's what that funding's for special needs kids. So that's a possibility that you could allocate some of that funding. What I will say is, because this particular ask is not on the agenda, you can't vote on this issue tonight.
So should we maybe perhaps put this on our next agenda then, so that way we could discuss it in
Because
further?
it's on the agenda item, then you can give them, yes, go forward and make it happen. But today, it's really only informational to the committee. So.
And that's all we expected. We just expected to introduce the project.
And we knew, I kind of knew this was coming, so I just want to make sure the committee recognizes they don't have any authority tonight to make any action, but we can certainly put on the agenda for next month, and then you can forward to council thereafter after what you decide.
And then that leads to a second question. If we do it for next month's agenda, where we had planned to go to a park, does that have to somehow be recorded and streamed live also for that kind of?
Well, if you're not going to meet here for your next meeting, we would just have to do an audio recording like we normally do.
Okay.
So, like, we currently audio record as well as video, so as a secondary, but for that particular meeting, if we're not meeting here, then it would just be an audio recording.
Would that be something we'd need to attend wherever you guys were at, or is that something we?
Believe as such, so that way in case we had any further questions that we wanted to dig into depth,
Yeah,
right?
you'd probably want to attend that.
Okay, so, but it might be remote?
Yeah, well, later in tonight's meeting, they're going to discuss if they want to meet in one of the parks, I think was one of the
Okay.
things they were looking at.
We wanted to get a better handle on the state of all the
Well,
other parks, not just Milky Way or Lions, but
Our
the other
park
ones
would
in
be a
Somewhere.
great place to meet, and we could look at this stuff in person.
Bring a shovel.
Yeah,
So I think there's some things on this list that we could get some answers to for the next meeting. And this is an ideal project for DISR funds, so something to think about.
Yeah.
And we're looking for projects for that
well, I love that.
funding, so.
Just so we're very clear, I want to be financially responsible, not financially responsible, whatever. I want to act responsibly financially. Should we, if I have an opportunity to tap the brakes on our $1,500 expenditure for the drawing, for the finalized engineered drawings for this project, should I see if we can tap the brakes on that at this time so that we're not moving forward without any sort of
I think it might be,
putting the cart ahead of the horse, or?
it would depend on what the funding is. Misra has some specifics.
You did this?
Yes.
Okay.
That's better than what we get
Do
in
we,
planning.
Yes.
are we gonna need,
sure.
are we gonna need the drawings? I mean,
And Nutley asked me last year when we were talking about it, that when I called planning and
So,
development or whatever, that I pretty much got told that, like, hey, you could probably do this, but I wanna get a stamp drawing from you before anything moves forward, yada, 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 yada. And
For ADA
some things have changed
compliance,
now
yep,
in the last 12 months in town with the city and all that, so that's why we're here, I guess.
ADA compliance, it's gonna be required.
Of
That's
course.
probably why she told you
Of
that.
course.
So, depending on design standards, I'm not quite sure how all that works as far as, the engineer drawings and all of that. So you might wanna wait on that,
I don't know if you guys would want it at that
depending on your
next
concept
meeting, or
design.
Maybe I can get a tighter concept that way and have some sketches of a fashion of this.
Right.
That we can all kind of look at.
yeah, basically, this $1,500
It's the
that we put
same.
forth, it's the stamped, it's to have an actual architect draw this up, so it is totally ADA compliant, and it, puts everybody's mind at ease. We're looking to overbuild.
I'm not positive, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that if we're trying to tap into Misra funds, they might need that as well. That might actually make things.
Right, so we can
easier.
keep the ball rolling on it. We don't have a problem, we're committed to it.
Is this
If we
committee
think it'll
asking
help.
for an image of what it's going to look like as far as not this, but the actual concept design of the dugout itself?
I think I'm more concerned about the colors at the end with just the theme, because the dugout's pretty small. We're not talking about like all of our buildings and all of our parks.
Okay, so you're not necessarily looking for a finished rendering of the,
I can supply something that's pretty darn finished looking in a similar nature to that, but with a elevation and a plan, a site
So
view and all that.
You have that by the next meeting?
I probably can.
What I'm gonna
It's an hour
suggest
after work
is-
tonight, so
it's not until June, so.
Another month you got.
I can do it.
what I suggest is we have, our community engagement director contact NISRA to see what part of that funding for this project would be eligible. So what of this project would be eligible for that funding? And, it could be that maybe some of that funding could be used to pay for the engineering of it.
This is a
And so-
project that we've really looked at, we want it, but it is expensive. We operate near zero as we can because we're a not-for-profit. So we have a CD that has $10,000 in it. That is, that's
It's your seed money.
yes, trying to say something not appropriate and nothing good was coming to mind. That's what we have for all of our operations and stuff. And we do have an operating account for our snack shack, and we have an operating account for all other expenses, be it equipment, uniform. So we have those separated accounts. We did think of tapping into our savings, which is our, come hell or high water kind of, if every kid in town needs to play for free, we can provide that for them. That's our goal. But because we're not for profit, we do have to turn this money over. So if we could get MISRA funding for this, that money is going to go 100% back into the program to the kids or the park in some way, form, or fashion.
Well, that's where I'm thinking, assuming the engineering is eligible for that NISR funding, that makes a lot of sense for us to allocate it towards that. And so what I'm suggesting is staff kind of do all that research, come back to the next meeting and present what we can and can't do to you, which will.
That would be amazing, because it wouldn't spread us so thin.
With what they're doing, so.
Your ADA program is called Buddy Ball.
Yes.
Woodstock's got a pretty good league, I believe, McHenry as well, right?
Yeah, theirs are long established. We've only had ours for 3 years. But we're trying to grow the program. Currently, I think we have 3 or 4 kids. So we run a clinic for them every week. We make sure that they get a full uniform just like everybody else. Socks, pants, shirt. We want them to feel like every other player out there.
Yeah, so then they, just so I can clarify it, and so it's kind of in the minutes and everything. They would come back, Joe would, our staff would look, check with MISRA, see what kind of funding is available, get in touch with you folks. You'd kind of give us, once you know that, you would come back to this committee with maybe some drawings, something a little bit more that we can then recommend or not recommend, because I can't say, to the city council at that point. Does that sound like the
Sounds
right
great.
kind of timeline?
What's the date on that next upcoming meeting?
I was just gonna
It'll
say,
be the
just to
third Monday
clarify,
in June.
those are
I'm sorry?
The third
architectural
Monday in June.
blueprints, right?
Hmm?
Architectural blueprints, like,
Well,
you know,
something just, he was saying he could,
Concept design.
Yeah, concept design, thank you.
I didn't know if that was that or with the literal elevations where they have, this thing and then they have the,
And like we said, color, all that, that's not a problem. You can paint it whatever you want.
We'll see if we can find the site plans for Moosefield too.
Yeah, if there's a survey that could be
Yeah.
found, that would be huge.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, so that'd be June 15th.
I messed up, sorry.
I come from a long way.
Did you catch that? June 15th. Do you guys have any other questions for us?
Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
are there any other public comments? All right. Next topic is approving the minutes of January 19th, 2026.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and next up is the America 250 Parade Request Letter.
Hi, I'm Joe McLaughlin. Address is 20808 Lemke Road. You should already have the copy of the letter. Joe said that you were getting that, so I didn't bring any.
It's in the packet.
Let's hear it.
It's in the packet, that's good. Last year, I spoke with the mayor and just kind of a casual conversation, said I'd like to have a July 4th parade. If it includes us just carrying the colors down the street, but I'd like to do that, and he said, you're it. So I put together, based on recommendation from Joe and the committee that she started up, that it would go from Diggins at Trinity Lutheran Church, go up a block and a half over to Brown, and then go east up to Lions Park. The initial idea was certainly to not conflict with Sharon's 4th of July parade, so we chose 8:30 form-up time in the parking lot. We got permission from Trinity Church, and then shove off at 9:30, and as it's only about 8 to 10 blocks, the whole parade, depending on how many people join up to march with us or pull a trailer, that could take as many as 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30. It won't be long like milk days, but, it would require, what I've stated in the letter was the request to the city to make sure that the streets are blocked, that there's police at the entrance and exit of the park. One thing I know Deputy Chief Sacco and I talked about was a place for after the parade is over, where the park's going to have the party, the 10 to 4 party, where would there be a alternative site, a safety site, or just an overflow parking? So we got the First Presbyterian Church has volunteered to make that their parking lot right up Harvard Hills Road, kind of a overflow parking, and also for just a safety site if we needed one. So I guess the request is obviously in the letter that we're looking for the city streets to be marked the day before on Friday, where the parade route is up Brown Street, and then people can park along side streets, walk over and sit in the yards or wherever the parade route is.
The parade route's on the second page of that letter. And then in the other handout that was sitting separately on your desks, the last page of Joe's report, there's also a map of the area at the park where all the events are going to take place, and the staging area for the overflow parking that Joe was talking about is up in the right-hand corner in red.
I don't know the exact year of the last 4th of July parade in Harvard, but I'm guessing it was a long time ago. Does anybody remember one? It's been a while, so I just felt it was appropriate that we put this together and at least recognize it. But boy, the plan for America 250 is just really fun. That's going to be a blast when you see families getting up there, and looking forward to even the library maybe being open or doing something special to add to it, because they're right there behind the parking lot where the celebration is going to take place.
I mean, the nice thing is that it's not shutting down, the downtown area, and it's very nice and contained, and a lot of the families can get out and view it easily like they do for the homecoming parade. Would this be a very difficult thing to do? Because I know it's not.
It's a very low-trafficked area, so I wouldn't imagine so. Like, we're not talking about the main street that goes through to the library or the hospital.
Are you asking if the parking ban and closing the street is a difficult thing to do?
Yeah.
No. We have, City Hall will be closed on July 3rd, which is that Friday, but we'll make sure that these signs are put out by committee members. We have enough volunteers, as well as the barricades will be out for blocking off the road, and we'll make sure those are pulled out and put back. Public Works can take care of putting everything out for us on Thursday and then cleaning everything up on Monday. It's a small enough ask that committee members, the volunteers, can handle it.
I know a couple of First Ward aldermen who might be able to help.
That would be really appreciated. But, I plan on being there, obviously, before the 8:30 form-up even begins, just to kind of get myself into place, and much like Nikki Pierce is the lead on stacking parade entrance for Milk Days, I'm pretty sure I've seen her do it enough times that I can kind of keep my eye on that corner, make sure that I'm aware of when people are coming. I've got an application and a Google form that I'm sending out to people if anybody wants to get a parade entrant, or if you want to walk or pull a trailer. Got some 5 classic cars from Dre Cisco pledged already. State Senator Syverson is going to be in our parade. The mayor is going to be in our parade, and I still got 3 cars left. It's going to be pretty exciting, and then just a great celebration. There's no fireworks that night. You got to go find your own fireworks.
Fire truck?
Possibly touch a truck. We're working on it.
Nice.
Deputy Chief Sacco is also on the America 250 committee, and he's aware of this road closure and parking arrangement as well. So,
What do we need to do? Do we need to verify
I
that it's
recommend
okay?
you make a motion in a second to send the city council to approve shutting down the streets and prohibiting parking during the event.
I make a motion that we shut down the street with the plan as indicated for the 250 parade on the 4th of July.
A second.
What time to what time?
It's going to start like at 8, and I think the parade's...
Forming for the parade begins at 8:30. The parade will move at 9:30, and the party, America
No, I
250
just wanted
is...
to have it be part of her motion, that's why I thought
I believe
it
the ask for the temporary parking ban was the night before, so
Okay.
that nobody's
Sorry.
parked there in the morning when they stage. So Friday afternoon.
Okay. Temporary parking ban, parade,
And then the street closure would
street
be
closures.
early morning, prior to the 8:30 staging. And then this isn't a roll call vote, it's just an aye thing, right? Okay. So everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So,
And we'll have the Milk Day Queen, too. Thank you. Is that it? Thank you.
thank you. All right, next is discussion to approve or make an action on that regarding the land conservancy of McHenry County TLC Memorial Oak Planting at Lions Park.
Hi, Lisa Haderlein. I'm not here as a council member tonight. I live at 904 North Jefferson Street in Harvard, and my day job is as the executive director of the Land Conservancy of McHenry County. And we have done oak plantings in the past with the city as part of our memorial oak planting. We've planted over 1,000 trees throughout the county since 2007, and we have planted trees at Lions Park in the past. We've also planted the nice oak trees along the road at by Milky Way, which are starting to look like trees. So anyway, at the tree board meeting earlier this month, when there was a discussion about the city planting a number of tulip trees on one side of the path, the new path, then I mentioned the opportunity for oaks, because we always plant oaks, to be planted as part from our memorial program. We'll be planting 15 oaks this spring, sometime in May, and that we could plant them there in Lions Park. So, any questions?
So we're talking about planting these. Does it conflict at all with where we are making plans to plant those tulip trees?
No, they're going to be complementary.
Yeah, and the idea was that because the city staff will be planting the tulip trees, and what Rob was talking about was planting them on the north side of the path. And so then we would plant these spaced out along the south side so that they'd sort of be alternating. And that over time you'd get a nice canopy of shade along the path.
And then you guys have your volunteers. Are you still taking volunteers to?
Yeah. I mean, we've been doing this. We always get folks out because people are doing these as memorials for folks, and so we invite them. So sometimes we get families that come out and they want to plant the tree for their loved one that they're recognizing with the tree. The idea is that you're creating a living memorial for your loved one, and so people don't need to have a sign or a stone or anything. They have a tree, and then they can go back and visit the tree in the future. So, yeah.
Sounds kind of cool. Are there any other questions?
One of the things I noticed in this, the very last part of it, we're talking about the maintenance and the watering of the trees. Is that something that the city is ready to take up, or would we need assistance with? Because we're going to have to do that for the other trees we're planting anyways.
Yeah, I said that I noted that in the memo, that if it's, in the past, the city has watered the trees. And I thought, and talking with Rob,
He's already
they're
aware.
going to be watering the trees out there anyway. They can water the trees on the other side. But if that weren't practical, then we would make other arrangements and get them watered. So we've done that at other
Yeah.
sites, yeah.
Are we going to alternate the tulips and the oaks?
Yeah, the idea was that at least what I understood, was that the tulips would be on the north side, and
Yes, okay.
so then, like if there's a tulip tree here, then an oak here, and then tulip here and oak here, so that they'd sort of stagger.
And then we wouldn't want anything by the sled hill, obviously. on the
Right,
downhill part.
right, definitely. So we will coordinate with Rob for sure on what his plan is for the planting of the tulip trees, and then we'll go off of that, so it's coordinated.
And we discussed coordination, assisting with watering and coordinating with.
Yeah.
Did we discuss with the garden club, possibly with watering assistance?
Potentially,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I've talked with Janet,
Okay,
she's on the tree board, yeah,
we'll make sure they don't die.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
yeah.
So then I guess at this point, if there's no further questions, we need to have a motion either to approve or disapprove of this.
A motion to approve the planting of the oak trees at Lions Park.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. All right, next up is discussion on our architectural standards for the city park buildings and possible technical assistance funding opportunities.
Alderwoman Lancaster asked to put this on her agenda regarding some requests from other elected officials and some public, some members of the public for the potential of looking ahead at our park buildings and structures for some type of branding or uniformity in those buildings. So I did start looking for some technical assistance. There is a grant available through the IDNR. It's called the Park Grant, PARC, which offers technical assistance for parks and recreation construction projects. The bad news on that is that grant has not been available since 2023, and it is usually called for projects in April, and it's not going to be available this year either. Whether or not it's available next year is yet to be determined. However, I have reached out to our grant writer, asked them to do some research and try to find some other type of technical assistance grant for funding to try to develop some type of concept design to get us started with that request. In the meantime, we were contacted last year by an architectural firm, Corrigan and Clerk, and previous administration had been working with this company just on a basic initial concept design on a possible rec center, real early design phase. And when they reached out to me, we tabled that because we weren't at that point yet. But I had maintained that contact and was able to reach back out to her last week and talked to a staff member in her office who was kind enough to give me an estimate of costs on what a type of concept, what a cost would be on getting started on some type of concept design to get us rolling. And based on what I told him your request was and the potential, from what I heard from the officials and from the public, we're possibly looking at less than $10,000 to get started on this. So that's really all I have to report on that at this time, but just gives you an idea of what kind of cost we would be looking at should funding become available for that.
Is that something that CMAC might be able to help us with?
CMAP just had their call for projects, which
Oh,
was
yeah,
due, and we
yeah,
already
yeah,
had
yep,
other.
we were already
yeah.
requesting for other projects. Okay.
So yeah, CMAP would have funding again, probably they would have a call this time next year as well, which we might potentially be able to apply for. But so there is funding available, but the cost to get us started is relatively inexpensive when you look at master plans and other types of costs that are much higher. To do a general concept design, to at least get an idea of what we're looking for, get everybody on the same page, and then move forward from there.
So that way, at least we have it
Yeah.
already in our minds
Mhm.
now, so we can plan accordingly for next year when it comes around.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Does anybody else have any kind of questions that they would like to?
So when we're talking about the design, because this is for the master plan, and I understand that's the layout of what we're expecting in the parks, but that does also encompass the architecture of our buildings.
No, this would just be for a design concept. So, you have an idea of what a uniformity for all your buildings, right? So it wouldn't actually be the design of each individual building itself, but just a concept design of what like a branding, right? So it would just get us rolling on, this is kind of what we're looking at, kind of like when you're developing a logo, right? And you're kind of putting all the pieces together type thing. And then from there, then we would do our park master plan. And then at that point, we would bring in the architect to be able to design things as we moved along. But it would get us a starting point on what we were going to look at as the city grew. And we could incorporate that into our other city buildings as well.
Having uniform dugout colors and stuff like that?
Right. Now, because part of what I was wondering too, and is one of the things I want to talk about later, is we're talking about the master plan, is trying to incorporate what we can to buddy up with the park path, or the bike paths we were talking about previously. Because if we have bike supporting infrastructure in parks, that's something we should be doing, so.
Next up is discussion and/or action to refer something to City Council based on the Milk Days Park Shelter redesign concept plan.
Good evening, Mike Van Wolf. I live at 1005 O'Brien Street in Harvard, and I'm representing Harvard Milk Day, and I'm the president of the Corporation of Harvard Milk Day, Inc. I'm back in front of you because you had previously given the okay to proceed on another structure. And after going through a number of things and talking with Debbie and looking at the grant requirements that park was purchased under, the structure had to be more open than what we were proposing at the time, and therefore went back to the drawing board to come up with something that would fit both the grant definitions and also work for Milk Days purposes, but overall 360 days out of the year, this is going to be a large shelter on the Milk Day grounds, Milky Way Park property. So what you're looking at, and I believe what was sent to you, is showing what Deb just put up on the monitor. This is the new structure that we're looking at. Each corner of it contains a bathroom. So it can be set up in such a way that if you have some issues, vandalism, or some real nasty issues that can take place in a bathroom, that one can be secured. Another bathroom is on site until the other bathroom is repaired. For 90% probably of the park use, you would only need to open up a men's and a women's, rather than all four. But it gives flexibility. From the standpoint of Milk Day, we're going to be surrounding that, and this gives us flexibility from the standpoint, we have to rent porta potties, okay? And we rent a lot of them. So people are always looking to go into a little nicer facility than a porta-john. Let's say this would have all the necessary equipment and so forth for washing hands, going to the bathroom, and so forth, handicap accessibility, all of that will be taken into consideration. Now, obviously, we're looking at a pretty substantial project, and it involves quite a few dollars in resource. So this would probably be a 2-year project, in that the main structure would go up, but where the bathrooms actually are would not be put in right away. And another reason for that is sanitary sewer is not there right now either. So the nearest sanitary sewer is over by, I believe, the concession stand at the football fields, okay, which is on the other side of the parking lot. We've kind of asked the city already to look into extending to the location of this structure, which, do you have that by the chance, Deb, the actual plot plan? Okay, I have one here. Let me just kind of bring it out. Okay. I don't know how well you can see this from where you're at, but if you look at this, and this would be north. All right, so this is the building at the north end of the grounds right now, all right? And then this is the parking lot and the entrance off of Lawrence Road, all right?
They have that.
You see that all right?
They have it.
Okay, there you go. So basically, the proposed building location is noted. That is where we always put our marketplace tent during our festival. So where it helps Milk Day out is one less tent to rent and one less tent to put in temporary power and everything else that is required to go into a temporary structure. So that is why we're proposing this particular building in that location, plus adding those bathrooms, which is a feature that is not existing at all on that side, I should say the north side of the parking lot. All the bathrooms are on the south side of the parking lot. Additionally, the other shelter that is shown there to the west is really not public accessible anymore because it became fenced and is part of the dog park. So there is no shelter at that end of the grounds. And so that kind of fits in to take care of that void that now exists. And I've heard from a number of different groups that utilize the park, it'd be nicer to have a larger building. Something that they could utilize for various events. Right now, you're dealing with shelters that are pretty much 20 feet by 30 feet or thereabouts. This is 100 feet by 40 feet. If you take the bathrooms out of each corner, that's taken basically 10 feet of that 100, so you're down to an 80-foot open space in between by 40 feet. So that is a good-sized structure. It's near the parking lot. It's right off of a main limestone path that exists right now. And so it's basically the building that now is grant qualified, replacing the one that you already approved that we found out it was not. So we're not really asking for anything different other than we're making improvements and putting bathrooms where you currently don't have any. But again, a lot of that timing is going to have to fit with when sanitary sewer is available, because then you've got to do all that and all of the improvements at that time to make it all tie in. So that's basically what I have to offer. One change that the Milk Day Board has looked at, if you notice on your sketch of the building, it's showing a hip roof design. All right, that is at the ends, they taper back up into the center ridge of the structure. In looking at the other buildings that are out there, and we believe something that will stand out a little bit stronger is we would go with a gable end rather than hip. So that is the change that we're looking at doing on that structure. But it's, everything else would be, as noted, that is brickwork that would be done on the corners, and separate doors that would be ADA sized for the access into the bathrooms. But I want to make sure everybody understands those things probably aren't going to be built right away until we know we have the sewer over there. The whole structure will be there. There will not be any concrete floors involved on both ends. That'll be limestone until the time we can go ahead and do the plumbing, because so much of that is going to be in the slab.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yep, that's exactly what it would have to be.
Gonna rough it in or not?
Yep, so the structure would be all built, everything would be there, but what you'd see on the ends will be open until we're able to enclose those as bathrooms. Okay, there would be a wall the inner walls would be there, but none of the exterior walls at this point, because we need the concrete there to put those walls on. But it's, it's a start, and I know in discussing it with the mayor, there might be grant dollars out there, things that you can pursue that I also realize take time to get. But it's starting somewhere. We will have the funds necessary to build this complete, and we would set the funds aside for the plumbing so that they are there when we're able to move forward. So it'll be a fully 100% funded by Harvard Milk Days.
Would you put the lighting in right away, the first year?
What's that?
Would you put lights in right away the first year?
I would say everything that's in between, the 80 feet in between.
The lights, yeah.
That'll have all the electric and everything put into it. Now, what we utilize during Milk Day is a lot more electric than we would put in the structure. We would just put lights and a few outlets. Whatever's code required would go in. But for the Milk Day event, we actually have 50, 60 amp services that run to the various booths that are within that building, okay? But that is, again, what Milk Day supplies and Milk Day installs and so forth for the event.
So who would get the sewer? Would that be us or Milk Days to that building? Would we do that?
We would have to do that, and it would be a extra cost to run it to 4 separate locations.
I know at one point, it was brought up that it would be a really nice area to put on solar panels on the roof. Is that something that's possible?
To put what?
Solar panels?
Oh, I think that's a possibility after the fact, yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions that they'd like to ask?
I just, there's a letter here from Rob from Public Works that talks about the concern of the 4 corner bathroom locations as he sees it. And his recommendation is to consolidate plumbing and utility infrastructure. And the other thing he says in this letter, the city does not have any plans to run any infrastructure to this area of the park other than a water supply that is shared with the dog park. So that's, so my concern is we have a half-built building. That would be my concern. We have a plan that will never actually be this because we're not going to bring that there.
Well, that would be up to this body and ultimately city council, whether they would allocate funds to bring the sewer to this building, so.
I think another thing to keep in mind is this, the city council will be approving a budget next week for a drainage study in the park, which will be taking place this summer, and the results of that drainage study may affect this location as well. I don't think it will, but without that final data,
Then
we
it
don't
would
have
be,
that yet.
it wouldn't be proper then to either send this to city council then, would it? Because if it's not going to be able to be built there, or would we be sending it and saying, well, this building is approved, but not the location?
Depends if you want to approve this structure or not.
But again, as you said, Rob had said that it wasn't very,
Wouldn't it be more cost effective if you kept all the bathrooms at one end?
Yes.
Well,
I know you wanna
obviously,
You wouldn't have to open
that-
up the whole thing, but at least the
Right.
installation would be a lot cheaper.
no doubt about that. For the purposes of what Milk Day is to achieve and why making the investments, these locations work the best for our application on it. That's why it was designed this way, and we would be the one investing in the
Right, you'd be
structure.
paying for it, so.
Yeah, well, we want to work with you on it, and believe me, we thought about, you put bathrooms back to back and so on, and do this and that, you got common plumbing walls and things. But again, it becomes, what would be the use that Milk Day is working with, but then it still becomes 360 days of use for the general park. So, and all of the bathrooms do not have to be utilized at once.
Right, I was just, installation
Yeah.
costs is what I
Yeah,
was.
oh yeah, believe me, I've looked at that and price of stainless steel
Copper.
fixtures and everything that are gonna go into it. It's, as much in those bathrooms as there is in the structure.
The timeline in which your building will be complete is contingent on the funding that you would have to run the infrastructure to the bathrooms, and there also would be a third lift station required to make this all work, which is quite costly as well.
You say a lift station?
Yes.
What are we talking, Deb? Is it, significant, the cost?
Oh, yeah, I don't even have an idea. I could get that information, a rough, but, we're talking, that's going to increase it's not going to be any cheaper in 2 years, right?
Yeah.
But I can get an idea today.
So you would want the city to pay for the underground sewer?
My understanding is the city has extended the sewer to all the other structures that have been built out there. So we were just asking for the same arrangement that had been made.
That's part of the ask then,
Again, we're in no timeline with that.
right?
I mean, we're building it in such a way they'll be built, but we'll build what we can as we can.
Are the bathrooms like go or no go for you guys on this, or are you fine if you just have a pavilion without bathrooms?
Oh, we could do a pavilion without bathrooms, if that's what you're saying. But to meet the grant and submitting it to Debbie to review, this is what worked, to have some walls in place also on the structure, where if you did it without the bathrooms there, it's just going to be a wide open structure. And that does not fit as well with the Milk Day use of the actual structure. So that's why we're incorporating everything that's there into the one structure, rather than saying, here, build another bathroom over here or something of that nature. It's all incorporated under one roof.
We rehabilitated the station that's out there now for $29,000 last summer, so a fully new lift station would be roughly double that, 40.
That's for the station, not for the,
That's not for the infrastructure, that's just.
Yeah, that's just
for the piping.
Yeah.
So you're likely, I'm gonna take a rough guess, 60, 70K to put in the infrastructure to be able to accommodate the bathrooms. But again, that's not the initial ask that Milk Day is looking for. That's the long-term
Yeah,
ask.
long-term, yep.
So, and then how, exactly how that infrastructure and when that would be installed, it would clearly be up to city council allocating funding to do that project.
So basically, it would always be there, but we don't have to go ahead and implement it. It would just be ready to go if we wanted it.
I have a concern, and I'm just going to state it, because the biggest problem we're having with this building is you want walls. And the park, as I understand it, we need a building without walls. And if we build this and we don't pull the bathrooms in
We're not
for
gonna
a
be in
year or
compliant.
2 years or 5 years, we just took away what our grant told us we can do.
Correct.
And so that's my biggest problem, is I understand that Milk Days has needs, but this park came with certain conditions. And that's my concern, is that we have to follow those conditions. We have an obligation.
So in closing that, Deb, we're allowed to do that if there's bathrooms there then?
Correct.
But is there a time frame after the building's built that's required, or is it immediate?
If I asked that question, the answer is probably going to be immediate. Storage does not qualify, empty space enclosed does not qualify.
And we have no plans right now within the foreseeable future to do bathrooms there and sewer, correct?
Or funding.
We don't have the money.
Well, yeah,
We
the
could
funding,
allocate it, yeah.
you would
We'd
have to
fund it.
unallocate something else to
Right.
allocate the funding to this project. Or wait, next year, you may have the funding, it's based on if this is a high priority for the committee and for city council, then next
Could
year.
look at the budget next
You
year.
could budget for it next year.
So we could essentially build this without walls temporarily and find the funding next year to complete those bathrooms.
Except they couldn't do the floor.
Yeah, you're gonna have 4 areas that's not
Yeah.
completed area, right? There's gonna be not concrete at those locations for the bathrooms.
They're still concerned about there being 4 separate bathrooms in all the corners, like that. Why can't we put them in one corner?
You could.
Where they're all like facing back
You could
to
put them
back,
across
kind of,
one
right?
wall.
Yeah, because like, for example, if it was in the front left, when you did it across instead, kind of a situation rather than being on the south side wall. Something like that. There's security concerns too, and then also everything else with that.
So what exactly do we want to do?
Well, we shouldn't be building anything until we are ready to spend the money, so we don't foot the bill for the rest of the money that we are expecting to get.
So then we need to structure this as a motion, though?
Oh, wait a minute, what do you
Don't
mean,
we?
what do you mean we don't need to, so Milky, they're willing to build this for us.
So there's a grant associated to that.
Yes, but we can't, that's why we can't put walls up, for that reason, correct? Is that my understanding?
You can't enclose it.
Yes, so we
Right.
they could still build this structure
Yes.
without any walls for the bathrooms temporarily until we decide we have the funding to put the infrastructure for the sewer, correct?
Well, we also could just build it without any walls and just leave it as a pavilion if the grant doesn't require there to be bathrooms. Does the grant require bathrooms?
It does not. It just says that if you're going to enclose it, the only enclosures that that qualify are concession stand or bathrooms.
Just to be clear, though, Milk Days, who is the entity that wants to build the structure, wants bathrooms incorporated in.
Right.
So they're the entity going to be bearing the cost of building the building. So you need to find a compromise, I guess, that works for both Milk Days and for the city.
So what's a building like that cost? You got an estimate?
Estimate of cost?
Just on the building itself and the concrete?
Well, the entire structure with bathrooms is about $300,000.
Without the bathrooms?
Without bathrooms, should be about half.
And that ain't counting the sanitary sewer neither?
I guess, I kinda look at it.
Because if you move
Well-
bathrooms all in one end, it'd save a lot of money.
It'd save a lot of money, absolutely, but I'm also looking at it at the point that the city's investment at this point sounds like the mayor's saying $70,000-$80,000 to get that infrastructure there.
That's just that doesn't include all the piping. I mean, you're talking, your lift station alone is 40. And you're piping to 4 separate corners. I mean, if it would help, we could try to get an estimate of costs and look at it 2 different ways,
Could we also
but I
just
don't know that we could do that in-house.
later on look at doing a separate bathroom building in a different portion of the park that's not this building? Like further a little bit northwest, closer to the pump station?
Depends on what this committee wants to do as far as what your
I mean, it's
capital improvement plan and strategic plan looks
Right.
like today versus where you want to go with your parks in the future.
I was gonna say, we don't really have the park master plan for that either, though, and also the drainage study and everything else that goes along with this. I'm not comfortable with this, especially with the idea of eventually coming back and putting in bathrooms with an obligation of whatever layout this is. That and this also, this is not a pretty building, and there's been concerns brought up from the public about the way the last building looked too. And they don't want us putting up buildings that are gaudy and don't want people to come to our parks. So there's concerns around that. So I want to make a motion to not go forward with this.
Is there a second?
Well, if we don't commit to the bathrooms or the infrastructure,
We need a new drawing then.
would we need a new drawing, or is it just this drawing without the bathrooms? I mean, I guess, yes, we would need a new drawing, but
See, if you do the bathroom on each end and you concrete the center of it, that means all the plumbing's gotta go around the concrete too, so that's good.
Well, there would be a line in the back of the building for the sewer. And you would have a manhole in the back that would tie in both sides, but it won't go underneath the 80 feet, because you don't want to put anything
Would you
under
put
there.
any
You have
floor
to dig
drains in there?
I'm sorry,
Would you put floor drains in?
floor,
Floor drains.
well,
Well, but
floor
the reason
drains
why I
would
say
go
that,
in the
if it's all-
enclosure.
If it's open, you're gonna get water in there.
Well, we'll have to build it according to whatever the city requires us to do.
No, I mean, if it rains, like the shelter out here's got a puddle of water in front of City Hall.
You mean
We
floor
don't-
drains in the middle of the pavilion?
Yeah, have a drain inside, is what I'm saying. If you get water in there, where's it gonna go?
We have a member of the public that would like to also
At least
ask a
have a
question
pipe and
regarding
go out.
this.
Hi, I'm Laura Evers, 48 North Air. I'm a little confused on following this. Don't we have to wait until you get where all the water's gonna go? Don't we have
The
to wait?
drainage map.
We can't build this until you figure out where the water's gonna go, right? So why are we wasting all this time talking about this? I understand, but don't you need to do that first? Figure out where this can go? Can you put it where he wants it to go? I mean, you could have more problems if you did that, right?
No, where this is going to go is a lot higher than the lowest part
Okay.
of the
Well,
ground.
I just thought that Deb said that they had to do
We're
a
doing a
study,
drain-
a drainage
well,
study
if-
in the park.
Yeah.
It just seems like that's the first
Yes, the
step.
budget passes, that is on the budget for
Don't forget,
this
Milk Day's
coming
been out
fiscal
there
year.
for 20 years. We're very familiar with how the water runs out there in our structures. We do not put the tents up that they're going to be underwater. We do have a water problem, which is the parking lot. Everybody's pretty well aware of that.
But you build this, you're gonna have another problem, because the water has to go somewhere. That's a lot of concrete.
That's a fair point.
All right, so then at this
I will
point-
second
I'm-
your motion, Mr. Albertson.
I'm not here to argue, and I really don't appreciate your
All right,
input, but
so
anyway,
all those in favor
addressing the
of
excuse me,
Mr.
addressing the input that
Albertson's
she just brought forth.
motion?
I can vouch for where
Aye.
this structure would go is
Mr.
not
Hoeflich?
into
And
the
Mr.
water.
Saucedo?
Motion, I can't hear.
Okay. I guess all I need to know is, do you want Milk Day to move forward and invest in the park or not? Just as simple as that. I mean,
I don't think it's,
we'll certainly abide by what your decision is.
I don't think it's a question about whether or not this body wants you to or to not invest in the park. I think it's a question about whether or not the investment is a sound investment for both Milk Days and the city, if the infrastructure is not going to be there to support it, and if the building is not going to be in compliance, and it's going to end up being something that is just a sunk money cost. So that's why we would like to go ahead and wait until certain other things are in hand, so that way we can proceed with a clearer head, so everybody else does not have to erroneously spend money that could be definitely put into a good project that's not wasteful, so. Should I recall the vote again, so that way everybody can hear it, so we could have it for the record? Mr. Albertson made a motion.
I second.
Ms. Platt-Miller,
Excuse me if I may add, rather than having a denial, which I know is coming, I would just like to withdraw at this point until after you complete your studies.
fair point. So in that case, I guess that renders the vote mute. Thank you very much.
That's quite all right.
Thanks.
All right, next course of action is the approval or denial of the fee waiver request for the Harvard Ladies Sting Softball.
I'd like to,
This year, correct, obviously.
I believe as such. Should be in the packet. I think it's before the plans.
It's right after.
Oh, right after them? Thank you. Do we have anybody as a representative for them here?
No.
No, but I know that they do invest in the fields. I
Yeah.
believe they groom them and they do all kinds of things.
This
so-
is standard every
Yep,
year.
yep, yep.
And they have, Joe has verified that they qualify for this waiver request. so-
Yeah, my only question is, have we had any issues with them in the past with
No,
this?
no.
Okay.
So-
I motion to waive the fees.
No second
This year.
All right. And then this is a roll call vote, correct?
Just be roll call vote to recommend the city council to
Okay.
approve the request.
So then we had Mr. Albertson, seconded by Mr. Saucedo, recommend to move this to city council for approval, final approval, I should say. Ms. Platt-Miller,
yes.
Mr. Hoeflich?
Yes?
Lori Lancaster says yes. Mr. Saucedo?
Yes.
Mr. Albertson?
Yes.
All yeses. Next discussion is regarding where we would like to hold the Parks and Recreation Board meeting. We were talking about getting back to going to parks, so that way we could actually see a park and see what kind of issues there are, whether they be in subdivisions that were given to the city or other city parks. I know at one point we were talking about perhaps having it at Northfield, but perhaps with the introduction of Moose Field.
Do we know if they have a game there that night? Because they do right now.
I have no
We have one
idea,
at a
to
different
be
park
honest.
every month, every meeting, every.
Well, I mean, it's going to be June to August, so maybe not.
We could look at the schedule and get back to you on the location.
Yeah, because like otherwise, I do think that the other park down in Shadow Creek could be a good contendant, just because we're talking about that one quite a bit. And then also, I'm fond of Mary Ayer Park, but that's because that's a block for me, so I could walk to the meeting.
We could always do them all,
No.
like Pokemon.
Just get bikes, right?
Yeah.
So Moose would be first
If it rains,
choice
we
and
go
then,
underneath the shelter. Oh, wait, that's right, we don't have a shelter no more.
stop it. What would second choice be?
I mean, it's up to others too. Like,
Yeah,
there's
I
my-
want to hear everybody's input, if that's
Any one of the
okay.
parks would be a good, I mean, there's plenty to see at every park, honestly.
My only concern is because we have to post the location, what happens if there's inclement weather? That's my only concern for Public Meetings Act.
Rain delay, we come back to City Hall.
No, it's from City Hall.
Well, there are
Well, can we?
shelters.
Pick a park that has a pavilion.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean.
I know Moose has one and Mary does.
Moose,
Boys
Mary's,
Field does, yeah.
Mary's
Yeah.
We go to
Park,
Monkey Way
Lions
at
Park,
the pool.
I think they all have shelters, honestly.
Northfield
We'll go
does not
swimming.
have a shelter.
Which
Just
one,
making
Mary?
sure.
Northfield does not
Oh,
have a shelter.
yeah.
I'd like to say, I think because of what's going on with Moose, my first choice would be
So Moose would be your first choice too? Mr. Hoeflich?
Where?
Moose,
Moose?
correct.
I mean,
Because
Oh, that's fine with me. I'm good with anywhere.
it's our backup though, if they have something
It
going
is the
on.
second word.
We could go to Mary's or something. Is there a park that anybody else would like to very much visit if we can't go to Moose?
The only thing I would say would be, and again, I know that's probably the most used and popular park is Lions Park, but the only reason I would suggest that is because we have 250 coming up right after that. So that might be a good second choice, just to kind of get a feel for where things would be set up.
Well, June 15th, the boys will be playing. I'm almost probably certain.
Yeah.
Correct. And I think they were still here when we set it up, so they might schedule for around that. But we could
I mean, but if
do,
they're playing, we can still meet there. I don't think it's a big deal, but it's whatever you guys want. It doesn't matter.
Actually, wouldn't it be,
You only need a couple of picnic tables.
Yeah, I mean,
underneath
it doesn't
the
matter.
pavilion.
wouldn't it be great to have a meeting with lots and lots of people? Yes, it would.
Well, that way you could
Or
also
not.
get the kids to chime in, which is a voice we rarely ever hear, and they could probably say what they view, from their point of view.
I think Moose would be good, just so we can get an idea, a better idea of where they're planning for that dugout and everything, and then Milky Way Park would be good too, just for the same reason, to kind of look at this and visualize it.
So I guess those are our first and second choices. All right, any more discussion about that, or questions, or comments? Nope. All right, moving on, Parks and Recs Department report.
It sounds like the Harvard Baseball League was here earlier. You'll see in my report, there's a picture of where they're planning to do their dugout, just it sounds like maybe
Yep, we
discussing that. But other than that, report is an extra part of your packet. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mayor's report?
I have nothing to really to report this evening, so, thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, we pretty much went back and forth with strategic vision during the whole meeting, I think, and I think we have a really good handle on the fact that we do want to get a unified view of things. We just have to wait for the funding. So anybody else have anything they would like to contribute?
So new business or strategic?
Strategic.
Okay.
Nope. All right, new business. Does anybody have new business?
I have a few things here. So, like I mentioned earlier, when we're talking about the parks and all these master plan ideas, is doing what we can to incorporate bike enhancements. So what I was thinking was, even if it's as simple as like a bike repair station at one of the parks, right, where if the pathing's going by, like, again, Mary be a good one because there's a lot of pathing that goes through the downtown area. Lions would be another great one for that as well. Just depends on where it would make sense to have that kind of support infrastructure if we do go forward with the bike path plan that we have. The other thing that I would like to explore when we talk about master plans is getting more ADA playgrounds. Woodstock has a really nice one, but I think that cost them like $1.5 million, but they had a lot of grant money with that. I would love to have Harvard have something like that as well, just because like we travel to that park. It'd be nice not to have to leave town to go somewhere with a nice playground, right? And that everyone else in town would love that too. The last bit here is more of a park maintenance kind of question, but it's when we talk about like the things that are in memorial for people, what do we do in situations when the tree's gone but the plaque's still there? Because like there's one of those at Air where the tree's been gone for a couple of years now, and there's a plaque in memorial of someone, then it's just there in the middle of the field. So like it looks bad. So I don't know if would it be wrong to plant another tree because it's not the one they planted, or do we move the plaque? Like, what do we do about that
We'll look at
situation?
that. Something we can look at and talk to the tree board about. Those are things we're unaware of. We have trees.
Yeah, we do, and that's where I know we can easily put a tulip tree in there too, but it's
Middle of the park?
it's near the really not good merry-go-round.
Is it on the sidewalk, off a sidewalk?
Yeah, so like if you're in the south, well, I can't even say south because it's crooked, the west corner where the sign is for like where they did the planting, it's just a little bit behind it. Yeah, so it's in the
Over here?
yeah, just a little bit to the right, right about there.
Right about here, okay. All right.
And I don't know if there's other ones around town like that too. It's just that's the one I
I'm
see.
not aware, but,
Yeah.
yeah, we can certainly plant a tree there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we have plenty of trees, right?
The other thing we can consider is starting to have an inventory of them. So as we go to parks, maybe that's something we can do too, of where are those plaques, and have a map.
That on our GIS system.
One of the other things I was thinking about, and this is later on potentially, but because we are planning on redoing that bathroom, do we have a way for people to report issues in the city? Like a quick QR code, hey, here, there's an issue at this park.
The only question with QR codes is that sometimes we have to figure out a way to make sure that they know it's a legit QR code, because
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
people
yes.
hijack those
Yeah,
things.
That's true, but I mean, either that or like a quick, like, reach out to the city, some way to say like, hey, like, this bathroom's been graffitied, like, rather than a conditions report through the police department kind of situation.
Well, the conditions report's the best way for them to submit
Right.
that. We just need to add that language to our bathrooms, so that they can submit it that way.
Right, and that's
Because-
beyond this, but
Yeah,
in
because the
general.
conditions report doesn't just go to the police, it's just under their department, but it gets assigned to whichever department is responsible for whatever the issue is. So whether it's Public Works or Parks or what have you.
Going back to your master plan and incorporating the other plans and technical studies we're working on, typically when we do, when we go out for RFQ on that master plan and we hire a consultant, they will look at all of those plans and they will help us incorporate those.
Okay.
So, but that's a good thing to note.
Any other new business? Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Where's the meeting at next?
It's Moose Field on June 15th.
Okay, just making sure. At 7 o'clock?
6:30.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Meeting adjourned
On that meeting?
15th, June 15th.
June 15th?
at 6:30.
I couldn't hear it. You guys talk too much.
June 15th, 6:30.